Welcome to part 2 of Equality and Inclusion, which is with Plato training, and it's part of your Level 2 Dementia Awareness Award. Today's aims and objectives are to continue to make an understanding of the importance of equality and inclusion for people with dementia, and to describe how a person with dementia will feel valued and be able to be included and engage in daily life. As always, please keep your eye out on the top right hand side for that green box that contains the information of which question number the information relates to. So we're going to start today's session by looking at the Facing Dementia survey in 2004. So normally we would only look back sort of 10 years when we're looking at data, but this survey was particularly important because it looked at the whole picture of the UK and how we were facing dementia, as it says. So it was conducted and it was found that 70% of carers were unaware of the symptoms of dementia. 64% of carers report being in denial about a relative having dementia. 58% of carers believe the symptoms are just a normal part of the ageing process. And 50% of the public believe there is a stigma attached to dementia. So like I said, we don't normally look at research that's older than 10 years. However, I think it's important to realise that only 16 years ago, where we're looking at dementia as, negatively because of the stigma that's attached to it. Half of the public that were questioned believe that there is a stigma and negativity around dementia. And then more than half of carers thought it was just a normal part of the ageing process, didn't really know what dementia looked like, and were even in denial of having a relative with dementia. So the education and training on dementia has hopefully come a long way since that time, but you can now see the importance of understanding about dementia, because there'll still be people that were working as carers 16 years ago that are still in the workplace today. So values, beliefs and misconceptions. Individuals with dementia have the rights to person-centred care regardless of the carer's values, beliefs, misunderstandings and attitudes of dementia. So we're going to look at the values and beliefs, the negativity with dementia, we're going to look at some common assumptions, we're going to look at communication in dementia, and we're going to look at giving high quality person-centred care for people with dementia. So just think about that last slide that I showed you for a moment there, with all of those stats on relating to, well, negative attitudes really. People not understanding, completely misunderstanding dementia. People associating negativity with dementia. So values and beliefs. We all have our own values and beliefs. Your values and beliefs are suitable for yourself and perhaps your family, but you can't apply your own values and beliefs to every service user that you care for. So for example, if a carer has a very strong Christian faith and they're caring for a service user who has a strong Muslim faith, the Christian carer cannot force his or her views upon the Muslim service user in any capacity. That is not deemed professional. With negativity and dementia, sometimes care staff and families have negative attitudes towards individuals with dementia. And like I said before, the main cause of this is a lack of education and awareness. People do not understand dementia. But we need to look at the effect that this negativity can have on those service users that are living with dementia. We have those assumptions about people being mad or crazy or senile, but dementia isn't caused by madness, being crazy or being senile. Dementia is caused by problems within the brain to do with the brain mechanisms. So dementia is none of those things. Why does person-centred care matter? So some people think that people with dementia don't know what's going on, so Why does it matter how you care for them? Because they don't know any different. They'll forget. People say those types of things. People think that people with dementia will not know if they're being cared for or supported using their personal preferences because they can't remember their own personal preferences. They've lost that part of their brain that hold that types of information. But that is not person-centered care, and that is not dignity, and that is not respect. So if you're not promoting person-centered care, you are not giving the person dignity, and you're certainly not giving them respect. The misunderstandings of dementia. So people with dementia could have more understanding than the carer may realise, and they might be able to do things themselves. Promoting that independence and maintaining that independence is so important, because if they can do something for themselves, then you should let them do it. A carer is not there to make a judgment of a person's mental health status or mental abilities. Communication. So when individuals with dementia are in the middle stages, the person may not be able to communicate very logically, and in the later stages they might struggle with communication entirely. But this doesn't mean that the individual with dementia's preferences and unique care needs are forgotten. But some carers may forget and just do it their own way. But that's not correct. The care plan must always be followed. And despite the person not being able to tell you their wishes any longer, it doesn't mean that you divert to your own ways. Instead, you need to give the person dignity and respect. Think about yourself. So how would you feel if someone took off your top, wet you with a flannel, and then dried you and got you dressed and walked away without saying a word? You need to speak to the service user regardless of what they understand, because that shows respect and dignity. Some carers will make assumptions of individuals with dementia and use derogatory or insulting terms such as calling them mad, crazy, senile. These are not their preferred names, so just use their names instead. Some carers will have misunderstandings that individuals in the middle or later stages of dementia don't need person-centered care because they no longer understand what their preferences are, and this is wrong. You should always follow the care plan. Some carers will not communicate whilst giving care. Always communicate when providing care to a person with dementia. Tell them what you're doing. In Western cultures, we do not generally value older age and instead focus on the fact that people, as they get older, need assistance and as a less valuable contribution to society, because people are no longer working and paying tax, and people can quite often see older people as a strain. In general, there is little respect for the elderly in Western culture. Even when people are caring for older people, it can be patronising to assume that they need to be looked after, and it's not uncommon for an older person to be spoken to like a child in a sing-song voice, addressing them by their first name when they've not given you permission to do so. If they want to be called Mrs. Smith rather than Beryl, they have the right to be called Mrs. Smith. You should always ask what their preferred name is. And we don't need to sing them a song or talk in a sing-songy voice. If we compare those Western cultures of how we view the elderly to the Eastern cultures, old age is seen very differently, and older people are actually valued for their wisdom. In many Eastern countries, older people are seen as important figures in both families and in society. For question 1, I would like you to explain how values, beliefs and misunderstandings about dementia can affect attitudes towards individuals. When you're explaining at level 2, you need to ensure that you're using full sentences to develop paragraphs. We're looking for about 3 paragraphs with 3 to 4 sentences per paragraph. Please pause this video while you complete that question. What does valued mean? What does feeling valued mean? What is inclusion? How can individuals with dementia engage in daily life? Feeling valued, what does that mean? So the definition of value is when you value something, you consider it important and worthwhile. For example, if you value someone's opinion, you will ask that person's advice before you make a big decision. Value has to do with how much something is worth in terms of either cash or importance. So when a person feels valued, they feel important, they feel listened to, and they feel worthy. So when we're valuing individuals with dementia, we are involving the individuals in their care plan. We're using the person-centred approach to support them, to give them dignity. We're taking into account what makes them individual, their routine, their clothes, their choice of food, religion, their hairstyles, their likes and dislikes, and their choice whether to participate in activities or to not participate in activities. What is inclusion? So inclusion is defined as the aim of inclusion is to embrace all people irrespective of race, gender, disability, medical or other need. It's about giving equal access and opportunities and getting rid of discrimination and intolerance, like the removal of barriers. It affects all aspects of public life. Inclusion is being included within a group or society as a whole. Social inclusion, by definition, is about making all groups of people feel included and valued within their society or community. So how can we make sure that there is inclusion in health and social care? Well, we can do this in various ways, such as using their preferred method of communication, not finishing sentences to people, allowing them time to speak, not asking too many questions at once, promoting independence, allow the person to do things for themselves if they can. Ensure that you, as a care staff member, are familiar with their story or their biography. Encourage participation of activities relating to their chosen religion or social activities that are going on. Encourage exercise outside for fresh air and fitness. Find out from the activities coordinator what activities are happening that may interest the individual with dementia. If people with dementia are valued and included, they might feel happier, they might feel like they belong, they might feel more of a purpose, they could feel respect rather than discrimination. They might feel it's easier to communicate and share their opinions and express who they are. And they might feel like care staff actually care about them because they've understood who they are. Valuing people as individuals is a key part of the person-centred approach. Bradford University described a framework called VIPS, like VIPs, isn't it, to help you to remember how to value and include people with dementia. So what they did was they looked at V for valuing, I for individualised, P for perspective, and S for support. So let's think about how this will work. So dementia and how to value people. So let's have a look at the V for valuing. This is about unconditional valuing of the person, their carers and professional staff, so having everybody involved. Individualised, so recognising and responding to a person as a unique individual, so not just looking at them as resident A or service user B. Perspective, so seeing the world from that person's viewpoint. Supportive, making sure the person's environment is positive and supports their well-being. It's easy to forget factors that may make people with dementia feel like they do not belong or that they cannot participate with what is going on around them. And it could be simple things like people talking too quickly and it's too difficult to process all of that information. It could be someone asking too many questions. It could be that the information has been written down and they can no longer process things that have been written down, or that they can still read. They can't process what it actually says. It could be a situation that involves lots of people that they don't know. It could be that you've taken them to a place that's very strange to them. Describe how a person with dementia feels valued and able to be included and able to engage in daily life. Please write around 3 paragraphs that contain at least 3 sentences each for this question. The aims and objectives of this session were to understand the importance of equality and inclusion for people with dementia, and to describe how a person with dementia could feel valued and be able to be included and be able to engage in daily life.